Hello, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Project V8. Today we're doing a little bit of exhaust stuff. We're going to try and fabricate all the pipes that we need for the actual exhaust itself, coming from the headers out to the collectors and through the turbo, and not out the back but towards the back for now. We're going to work out how we're going to actually run the rest of the exhaust tube later on. That's a problem for future Dave and future Ken. In the meantime though, we've got all the bits and pieces that we need. Let's start cutting and welding. Right, so we've taken the steel tube, we've cut it and all that sort of good stuff to the length that we need. It's started to be TIG welded together and starting to drill the holes for the collector pipes. This as a whole is going to get MIG welded, not TIGged, onto the manifold itself, and then that will go in the car. So since the last episode then, as you can see, we have the wings on. They are just temporarily fitted in place for now while we work out where we're going to put the turbos. We have taken a load of stuff off the front. The pulley there, power steering pump is now there because that's now completely redundant because we're going to go electric. And we've moved the alternator bracket from there to there. Now, the idea is with that, that's going to be, we're going to drill and tap a hole just there, like they did on that side there. Bit sketchy because it's going into the head, but hey, whatever. Mount the alternator there, and then that will fit just nicely onto that pulley there. So that's what we've done with the engine so far. What we're doing at the moment today is we are fabricating some tubes for the headers. So we're actually going to use stainless steel for that. So that will take the exhaust out and into the turbo. One turbo is going to go here. Space is tight for that one, so we are going to have to do a little bit of fettling on the actual turbo itself, and the other one's going over here somewhere behind the alternator, and that's fine because there's tons of space over there. Looking down, we've got a few nuts and bolts and stuff here that we've got to keep and clean up. That is the bracket that locks all this into top dead centre. Those pulleys, by the way, they've come off and they're going to go the same insane green like that. This, by the way, is all the silicone hoses and stuff that we need for the cooling system. We are painting the engine block black at some point, but in the meantime there is a significant list of stuff that needs to be done, so this series might go on for a little while, I'm sorry. But in the meantime, we've got a billet aluminium block to replace that, so that the forced air from the turbos goes straight into that. Yeah, let's see how far we get today.
So, drill the holes in the collector in a minute. There's the manifold plate that will bolt onto the engine, and what we're going to do is, the next job is to build the collectors that go from here to here. You can see these crossovers, so what we're going to do is we're going to cut the pipe and join it together once we've got this curve on each pipe, and then there's another one to go here, which should still leave us enough room to get into the bolt holes in order to secure this into the block. Once that's done, we're then going to do a bit of cleaning and a bit of polishing on the stainless itself, so we get a nice uniformed finish on it. Then we're going to weld on the hot pipe. Goes on like that, and then the next job is the turbo manifold like that. So yesterday what we did was we squeezed this pipe a little bit in order to make it fit the shape of the turbo manifold. a bit better. Once this is done, this is the relatively complicated part. Coming out the back end of the turbo and going to the downpipes, everything's on V-bands, so it's really easy, really simple. We build it in sections, it all goes through nice together, and you literally just clamp it up. The only other thing that we need to do is to fit the turbo. This is a Garrett GT3, and as you can see, off the back end it's already V-banded, which makes life a hell of a lot easier. So the orientation of the vehicle is going to be this, and then what we're also going to have to do is undo this flange right here that connects the cartridge to the turbine housing on the exhaust side, and this whole turbo is going to have to be rotated because this will stick up above the bonnet otherwise. What we're going to do is rotate this so that this sits at 90 degrees in the same plane as the base of the turbo, and then we'll slacken this nut off here, shorten this length down so that we still get the same wastegate action with the same pressure release from the turbo. Once that's in situ, then we've got to start connecting up oil lines, but we'll discuss that later once we've got the manifolds done and the turbo in position. So, with this being TIG welded, and I am not a TIG welder before you start on the comments, so it looks like shit, but it'll hold gas, and that's all that matters. Because this is mild steel, and trying to get the heat in between these two is proving a little bit difficult, I'm going to MIG weld this to this, so the collector tube will now be welded to the manifold. There is a little bit of a gap that you can see here, and the reason why this is as the heat is built up in the stainless, it's pulled it up. So hence why I've got two big clamps on it in a minute trying to put it back down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to weld this side, and then allow it to cool a little bit, and then clamp the middle in the vise to pull it all together so that it doesn't warp this, so it sits flush on the head. Then once we've done that, we're going to go and test fit it, and then we're going to put the tube onto here into the turbo manifold and position it all so it all sits correctly. Oh, can you smell that? It smells like burning meat.
A bit, yeah.
It smells like burning meat.
Doesn't smell pleasant, does it? It's a bit of burning me in flannel shirt.
So we've rotated the intake on the turbo, the cold side, rotated the cartridge so that the drain is now at the bottom and the infeed is at the top, and it's now sat where it's going to live for the remainder of its days. We're going to come out the back end of this with a 45 with a lot of heat wrap to avoid it melting the plastic that's just here, and then take it down the back and out. The problem we found at the moment is that the wastegate actuator valve should sit up here like this. Now the problem with that is that the bonnet's in the way. So what we're going to do is, ideally it needs to be sat somewhere like here. So I'm going to straighten out this bracket here, possibly by making a little incision just here, and then twisting this so it goes straight and it's parallel with this, which means that the actuator will then sit there like that and will give us the actuation that we need still for the wastegate without compromising and hitting the bonnet. So that's what we're going to do. So first turbo is round weight in position, and what we've done is in the top here we've got a M12 by 1.5 threaded banjo bolt onto a AN6 banjo. This is going to have a oil feed line that comes out of it, there's going to be a T-piece round about here-ish that's going to come off and feed into the second turbo. That's going to come all the way back. There's a sandwich plate that's going to go underneath the oil filter just here. On the outlet side, we're going to have an AN6, basically it's a 1/2 inch BSP to AN6 outlet that will then feed turbo A and turbo B. And what we're going to do on the other side of the sandwich plate is we're going to put a 1/2 inch BSP to a 1/8 NPT adapter for an oil temperature sensor up at this end. Once that is done at the top end, then what we've got to plan to do underneath the turbo is underneath this end just here there is a you can't quite see it, you might be able to, there is a AN10 oil drain fitting that we've put under here with a brand new gasket. This is going to come out the bottom of here with AN10 diameter hose. It's going to come down and we're going to tee it into the top of the block, into the top of the engine pan just here. Now the reason why you try to go for basically the top of the engine pan up at this end and not down at the bottom, you want to put it up as high as possible, because otherwise what will happen is when it's down really low you'll get an oil blockage and your turbo will start to fill with oil, the seals will bypass and you'll end up either with a lot of smoke or potentially worse with diesel runaway. So we're going to put them up right here, right at the top, as high as we can. What we're also going to do with that is we'll take the sump off, we'll have the sump blasted and cleaned, probably painted as well, but we'll also make sure that when we put the two AN fittings either side here, that it's not interfering with the crank, or it's not touching anything else, or it's nowhere near any sort of ancillaries that it's going to get in the way of. So as you can see, angry turbo number 1 is installed. Angry turbo number 2 needs to go in somewhere around about here. We put the alternator into position. As you can see, all the pulleys are missing off the front of the engine. We've sent them away for painting. We've started painting the front of the block. We're going to continue cleaning and fitting some silicone pipes to the engine, mainly for the heater box that's sat over there. What we have noticed is the fact that we are rather snug on the exhaust line just here. So we're going to 45 degree it out of here, take it along, take it down the back, and we're going to squeeze just down there past the main master cylinder. On this side we've got bags of room, but we'll come to that when we install the second turbo. The outlet is right here for turbo number 1. So from the States, as you can see, the intake plenum here has gone. From the States we've ordered a ram air intake that goes on the top, that's a sealed unit. This piece that was in here, the aluminium's being cleaned up. What we're also going to do is sort out these fuel lines because they look a mess. Once that's on, we've then got a T-piece that's going to sit round about here, because we're going to have turbo number 2, turbo number 1, and the T-piece is going to sit here, and we're going to plumb the two of them in together just over the top of where the top radiator hose is going in here. Once we've done that, accelerator cable is going to go on, and while we've got the engine in this condition, we're going to clean it, paint it, and we're going to put the wiring loom in.
So that's plenty done for today. We've managed to take up one of the headers at least, and worked out where we're going to mount the turbo, and we're going to weld that to the actual header. So once the head's been bolted on, that'll collect all the exhaust gases, push it through the turbo, that'll compress all the air, shove it straight into the air intake, and that increases power. So yeah, we're getting there, slowly, but we're getting there. You know the rules though. If you liked it, like, share, comment, subscribe. Instagram's down here somewhere. Link to the playlist is over here, and if you did like it, ring the bell, and I'll see you in the next one.